Welcome viewers, I am Fatu Kamara Junior and this is the Fatu Network. We are right here at the Ministry of Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology for a press conference on the Gambia security sector reform, invited by the National Security Advisor, retired Colonel Momodu Baji. Please do stay with us and get informed as this appears to be a very interesting press conference. Stay with us. The National Security Sector Reform Program has seen the government embark on study tours and other security reforms.
The objective of the Gambian security sector reform process include the establishment of civilian and democratic oversight mechanism that guarantee non-occurrence of human rights violation by the security forces and the development of national security policy and strategic frameworks which will focus on the security sector governance. Under the stewardship of the Commander-in-Chief, His Excellency President Adama Barrow, a comprehensive assessment of the security sector reform was conducted with the support of, obviously, our international development partners. The Gambia national ownership of the security sector reform remains a core component of the results indicators that include, firstly, restoration of public trust and confidence in the security sector, respect for human rights and rule of law with standard international best practice, and full subordination of efficient and effective security institutions to the democratic norms and civilian authority. In order to forge ahead, I will take you through, firstly, the priorities. We have considered that the first priority of our reform is to develop conceptual documents on the security sector reform, and also to have the development of the assessment report. We also have developed the national security policy with the intention and the aim to guide the vision of His Excellency the President and his government. Subsequently, we have just received our National Security Strategy document and the Security Sector Reform Strategy document. These two documents, for the earlier mentioned one, that's the National Security Strategy document, it is aimed at implementing all the visionary concepts we have in the national security policy. And the latter, that is the security sector reform strategy, is basically to address and solve the malfunctions, the deficits, and the gaps that we are noticed as findings and finally as recommendations of the assessment process.
The military is one of the most important components in this program. Defense Minister Sheikh Omar Faye was present, and this is some of what he said.
The outcome of the assessment revealed overarching issues such as lack of appropriate institutional policies and legal frameworks and serious capacity deficiencies. This process culminating in the drafting of the first ever national security policy of this country, which of course everybody knew was launched years ago. The drafts of the National Security Strategy and the Security Sector Reform Strategy were presented to the National Security Council a few days ago for adoption, and it is at the final stages of publication, which of course all of us will have copies, and subsequent launching. The strategies, if launched, will help the security forces achieve and implement the national security policy and recommendations of the Security Sector Reform Assessment. Ladies and gentlemen, this process is not going to be 1, 2, or 3 years. I think it's important to be honest to tell you as Gambians. We will going to retire eventually and go, and you people will continue this job, because the process is a process going on. It cannot happen in 2 or 3 years. But good news is, at least the Gambia is now adhering to international best practice, that now people are free, the basic rule of law, human dignity. If something happened, you can easily walk to go to the courts. Nobody is beating anybody. We're trying to repent and reconcile our problems, learn from our mistakes, come together and move forward. Ladies and gentlemen, this is about the reform. It's not a thinking that's going to happen 1, 2 years like them that did it. So I think I've heard him clearly that he talked about downsizing. Before any decision can be made on downsizing, it will be ideal that the following issues are taken into account. How significant is the rate of attrition? How many deaths, discharges, dismissals, desertions, and retirements have been recorded? Since 2017, GAF's strength has reduced despondently, drastically. A lot of people are talking about thousands. Over 1,000 have left. Some because of death, some because they have better opportunities, but some because of there were security risks that the leadership figured that these people we should honorably release. So there are, the reforms are tangibles and intangibles. There are things that you cannot see open. Now we have come to a curve. You are beginning to see things. That's why we call this press conference. But before, I will say something. There are other negative issues associated with downsizing. Remember, these people are also Gambians. You cannot just, our brothers and sisters, just kick them out in the streets. How are we going to process it? We should organize a soft landing for them. Some of them voluntarily will retire. Some of them will even say one day that if they have some packages that, you know what, I've done my best for the Gambia in the armed forces, I think it's time for me to go. So please, I want you to come on board so that you understand the concept of what we're doing. It cannot happen in a year or two. In conclusion, right sizing. This term is often misconstrued. It means having the right and appropriate size of any armed force. After the assessment is considered that units and formation lack the correct disposition of troops, and in that context, right sizing means increasing the numbers to meet the correct troop in case we are deficient. People are thinking that there are too many. We may even go to some units where you need some more people. But there were 3 years of embargo. This government has not recruited for years. But during that years, a lot of people have left the army. Over 1,000 and some people. Eventually, the records will come. But out of national security, we cannot sit here and tell you all the details of the Gambia Armed Forces. No armed forces will do that.
National Security Advisor, retired Colonel Momodu Baji, touched on the state of the economic.
I just want to take you through one important institution that may not be part of, us, and that is our economic. I think of late, we are all aware that the issue of economic is mentioned, virtually at every press conference, and then people have brought it as a concern. But I just want to allay your fears and sometimes your concerns and state categorically and courageously that, the economic, their presence in this country is as a result of the invitation that was extended for them to come and assist in the stabilization of the country. I think it is, it is known to everybody here. I think we are all aware of what happened in 2016. Though we have not had and we did not run into conflict, but we had a difficult impasse. We had an impasse and a very difficult, indeed, a transition. So basically, they also have a mandate to allow us, that is us, the security, to undertake a meaningful security sector reform, not only at the level of SSR, but at the level of the institutions. While it is, a stabilizing factor, I want you to also note that ECOMIC is as well providing the required capacity building and support for the viable implementation of this very security sector reform that has brought us around, this room. And then they also are helping and conducting, joint training. They are having joint patrols, and they are also involved in civil-military relations. So basically, their engagement, is very productive. And we want to encourage and appeal for a common understanding that the ECOMIC is here for a period, and they are doing, whilst they are doing a meaningful job, we are also trying to train and build the capacity of our own institutions.
Accordingly, the security strategies, if launched, will help the security forces achieve and implement the national security policy and recommendations of the security reform assessment. Fatou Camara reporting for the Fatou Network News Review.